I have a MAGA neighbor, and we had a little talk about the upcoming election and Trump, and the conversation did not go very well. Now, I'd like to start this off by saying my neighbor is a pretty awesome person, and she's been helpful to me. Those of you who've been subscribing to my channel for a while know that I've gone through some very difficult times lately, all surrounding the purchase of my house 2 years ago. And I'm in a much, much better position than I was in some ways and worse in others, but I'm still having some significant struggles. And she's been very helpful, and I'll be specific. She's brought on multiple occasions fresh vegetables to me. She has brought me business multiple times. So she is religious. So she's I believe she's actually a pastor, possibly. So I guess it kind of goes along with what pastors do. But they've had like special guests at their church, and they've stayed at my place. So I just want to put that down there, because I know when we have these political discussions, it's easy to otherize your political opponents, and that's what Donald Trump does very, very well. The Democrats are socialists, and they're evil, and they're pedophiles, and whatever, right? So it's easy to get caught up in that type of rhetoric and not appreciate that, these people are just people like you, and they have a lot of the same desires that you do. And when I say people, I'm talking about Democrats to Republicans, and Republicans to Democrats, right? Obviously, you know which side I think is a little bit more radical and, off the rails, but regardless, there's still most of them. Of course, there's bad actors on each side, but most of them are still just relatively good people that are just being manipulated and taken advantage of by the same people I talk about in my videos, right? This is the effect of the Ben Shapiros and the Stephen Crowders and the Tim Pools. They poison the minds of these people. Donald Trump himself, of course, poison the minds of these people to where they get so caught up in their emotions that they can't think clearly. Anyway, I just wanted to illustrate how the conversation went, and it was pretty much what you would expect. It's the same. People talk about online. This is not an online person. This is an old school person, much older than myself. So this would be more like a normie type person. I don't know. I should have asked more about the media diet and things like that, but this is not an online person at all. And the conversation went just like how, an online conversation with a MAGA person would go. And it's just, she believes what she believes. And if you say anything to the contrary, there's a aggressive and immediate, like, knee-jerk reaction. No, that's not true. No. And then there's the assumptions of like, oh, you're watching. It's just so played out. This is the same reaction I get all the time. They assume that, oh, you're watching mainstream media and you can't believe the news. Meanwhile, they're watching the news. They're watching mainstream media news that has their brains warped, right? But because you disagree with them, it's mainstream media, right? And then if you push back and you try to back up what you're saying with evidence, the evidence is just automatically discounted, or there's a pivot, so you move on to something else, right? And you just can't nail down any particular position or point, right? It's automatic rejection, automatic dismissal. Oh, mainstream media this, and the Democrats that, and whatever. And then when you say evidence to the contrary, it's just, so if you actually back up what you're saying and they see that you know what you're talking about, then it's kind of like, okay, let's move the goalposts and talk about something else. No conceding on anything whatsoever, nothing whatsoever. Doesn't matter how wrong and clearly wrong that they were on anything. It doesn't matter. They just want to move on to some other topic. So here's an example. So I talked about how Democrats run on things and then they don't actually do it. So they ran on, I shouldn't say Democrats ran on, but there's a lot of talk from the left or from liberals about defunding the police. And then the Democrats get in power and then they fund the police more. There's more Capitol Police than before, right? I think they expanded them across the country. So now you have Capitol Police, I believe. I don't know if it's done already, but I believe they opened up offices or they sent more officers for the Capitol Police in other states. And it's like, what's that about? Like, that's what Democrats got you. You got Joe Biden, more Capitol Police, more funding for the police, right? They approve police budgets all the time. So that's the thing with Democrats. Run on one thing, pretend to do one thing, pretend that they're there for one thing, then do something else, right? So when I referenced defund the police, instantly she said, no, they did it. So she said they did it here. They did it in our community. And I was like, that's perfect, because, it's hard to argue against sort of a ambiguous, they defunded the police. Who's they? Where? How? What are you talking about, right? But now she's talking about our community, right? She's my neighbor. Here's where we live. So this is something very specific that we can examine and challenge and see whether she's correct or not. Did they or did they not defund the police in our area? So she says, yes, they did it. She points out the fact that we don't have a lot of police officers here. I've noticed that right away when I came here, that there's only a few police, and we definitely there's certain crime issues going on here, and it's curious that they would have such few police, right? And she's like, yeah, that's because they defunded the police. So then I started to press her on this. So I said, so I know she goes to the council meetings like I do. Now this happened before I was here, but she probably went to the meetings when they were doing that. And here's the thing: I knew that if they actually had defunded the police, that means they would have had to have a vote. Someone would have had to propose it, and then there would have to be a vote to agree to defund the police, right? So this would have been a debate. This would have been a conversation. So she would remember it. So I asked her, I said, so they defunded the police? So they voted on this? And then she started, like, she wouldn't say yes or no. She just kind of like, they did it. That's all, no police. And I'm like, but was there a vote? Like, how did that happen? They defunded that. They're all gone. Like, again, when I try to get to specifics, it's just she doesn't want to say specifically, like, just saying defund, but there's a process, right? You don't just automatically defund the police, right? There has to be a process, has to be a vote on it, right? And there's going to be people who say that, no, they shouldn't do it. Yes, they should do it, right? And if she's going to the meetings, like I know she does, she would have seen this. But yet she couldn't articulate anything whatsoever about a conversation about should we or shouldn't we defund. All she could articulate is that they defunded the police, and the evidence is, look, there's hardly any police. So I quickly got on my phone, did a quick Google search, and right away I saw an article that said that they fired like something like 18 or 20 police officers got fired, and firefighters, right? That was the first red flag. Like, okay, I never heard about defund the fire department. So there's an article talking about we got rid of a whole bunch of police and fire department, and then right in the headline it says due to budget. So she's claiming that we defunded the police. I find that they did in fact fire a bunch of police, but then it says because of the budget. But now she instantly moved the goalpost. Now she wants to move to they had the budget. And I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case, right? I wouldn't be surprised if, they claim they don't have any money, but they actually do have the money. But still, that's not defunding the police, right? There was no secret defunding the police. There was not a movement of Democrats that were saying, listen, we want to defund the police. We're not that they're gonna say this, but we're gonna do it sneaky. We're just gonna say that we don't have enough money, so we have to lay off these police officers. And by the way, firemen. Like, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. Anyone that was actually going to defund the police, that was the conversation. We're going to defund the police. There's too much police brutality, whatever, whatever. And then there's a vote. And if they get enough votes, then they approved it. Then immediately they slashed the budget, reduced it by a certain amount. It was very specific. Any kind of defund the police was very, very specific in how they tried to, because some tried and failed, and then how they actually did it by dollar amount, head count, whatever. I never heard of a case where it's like, oh, we don't have the budget, right? And then also the timing of it didn't match. A lot of the defunding stuff was after George Floyd, right? This firing of, I lost you guys for a second. This firing that they did of the local police and fire department, it was done before the pandemic, right? And this is a core example of how you get to be MAGA, right? It's not a coincidence that someone like this, who has a very big problem with, in terms of connecting to reality and being able to actually even have a conversation about what is true and what is not true, right? So off base. And the thing about it is, even as you are presented with the flaws in your argument, you don't acknowledge it. You just ignore it and just move the goalpost. I mean, how do you say to defund the police? We do a search. There's no evidence that actually happened. We actually find a specific event where they fired a bunch of police. So it's a small town, right? So this is firing that amount of police would definitely, I'm pretty sure, be the reason why we don't have that many police right now, right? Because that's a huge amount of police for a small area like this, right? So we found out a clear reason why, and this is a key detail. There isn't acknowledgement of, oh, that's what happened? Oh, let me look at the article. Not saying you gotta just trust me either. You could be like, oh, really? Where'd you find that? Let me see. Let me read that. And then she reads it and like, oh, okay. I thought such and such. Oh, okay. Maybe I got it wrong. No, they will concede nothing. They will concede nothing. And their arguments are pure emotion. She feels that we defunded the police, no evidence whatsoever of it happening. I present her evidence that challenges what she says. She doesn't really look at or examine the evidence that challenges her argument. Just rejection. Oh, no, that's not this. Oh, the Democrats, this and that. As nice of a person as she is, she's not reachable by me, at least. I don't have the skill to reach someone like this. This is a cult. This is cult behavior where she believes something and she's not even willing to entertain the idea that maybe she's wrong, right? I'm always looking into things and confirming what I believe to be true is true. I'll be sure about something, and then I want to say something about it to someone, but then I hesitate, and then I Google search to make sure that what I think is true is true. A woman like her and a classic MAGA, they never would be doubting anything that they say. They're 100% sure about everything. They know. You're wrong. Trump is the best. The economy was great under him. Blah, 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 blah. There's no kind of a thought process or examining of evidence or questioning of their beliefs, right? I question everything, not just what other people say, but what I say and what I believe. Right? Because I'm human, I realize I'm fallible. So a lot of times before I want to make an argument, I will double check. That's not a MAGA thing. MAGA is not double checking anything. MAGA will argue for hours on how Donald Trump did whatever. I genuinely would like to talk to someone like this and try to understand where they're coming from and try to connect with them on this level, but I don't see it being possible. I tried, but how can I talk to someone who is just going to completely reject facts and reality? It's just like, you believe what you believe, and that's that. It's religious. It's like me trying to convince a Christian that being a Jew, being Jewish is the way to go, or you should be a Buddhist or something. I mean, that's ludicrous. Not saying it doesn't happen, but it's ludicrous. You can't argue with someone about their religion, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, I guess my God is not real. Oh, you convinced me now. I'm gonna go worship your God now." And this is a key difference between people like myself and typical MAGA. I'm willing to be challenged. I'm willing to question what I believe. They are not. I'm gonna end this live stream before I start rambling. This is the Debate Me channel. Debate me in the comment section below. Click on the like button, subscribe, smash that bell. Be well. It's so sad, man, because again, this is a really nice woman. She's been so helpful for me, and she knows my point of view. Ideologically, we're very different, and she hasn't rejected me yet. I do have a friend that was over 15 plus 20 years, and I wouldn't say that's specifically why we don't talk anymore, but you know, after such a long friendship, he kind of just stepped away off of nothing. Like, it's not like something big happened. I won't get into those details, but basically, he was upset because I didn't hire him for something that was very, very scary for me and risky for me. And I chose to hire someone local who knows the local area, as opposed to him who's not local and doesn't know this area. And somehow that offended him to the point where we don't talk. After, it's probably 20 plus years I've known this guy, and he's definitely a Trump guy. So that's interesting. This is a 20 relationship. This woman I've only known for, you know, a year and a half. So we'll see how long it lasts. I was respectful to her. She's always been respectful to me. We just, you know, agree to disagree. But again, I shouldn't say we agree to disagree, because we don't actually disagree. She's not listening to me. She's not actually considering what I'm saying. She's not, you know, confirming what she believes to be true. She's not looking at the evidence. You know, we're just talking past each other. I'm listening to her. I'm hearing what she's saying, and I'm responding to what she's saying. I'm trying to be good faith in what she's saying, but she's not giving it back in return, right? Anything I say that disagrees with what she says, "Oh, you're wrong there! Oh, no, Democrats!" Anyway, I'm gonna go make burgers. I'm hungry. I'm so ready. I'm so ready. I'm about to grill some burgers. All right, guys. I'm out. Click on the like button, man. You still listening? You haven't clicked on the like button yet? Show some support. This video is not going to get a lot of likes or support, as pretty much any video on my channel. So every bit helps. The raw truth is not a common product that people want.